Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Approval, item 2 is approval of the minutes from 3/18/2025.
I move that we approve the minutes from 3/18/2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, V25.08.01, a variance for 924 Stallings Road, PID number 071293336, to request relief from Article 2.19-1 and Article 21.1-1 of the Stallings Department of Ordinance. 219-1 is sidewalks required. Sidewalks shall be required along new and existing streets in accordance with the provisions of Section 13.2-3, fronting the following new development expansions of and improvements to existing development. Additionally, sidewalks shall be required in the following circumstances. B, expansions to an existing commercial development or use where the gross floor area of the expansion is equal to or greater than 50% of the gross floor area of the pre-expansion development or use. We're also looking at 221.1-1, equitability, where equitable, in the addition of active open space shall adhere to the Stallings Recreation and Greenway Master Plan. Standards set forth below establish regulations for open space, which was amended on May 10th, 2021, amended December 9th, 2024. The purpose of the meeting is for those items just requested. The item will be heard as a quasi-judicial matter, and the chair, town staff, and land use attorney will describe the process.
Thank you. So we don't have the land use attorney here, but he has advised us to read everything verbatim from the script I've given you. And I did that at the last meeting as well. So I'll just read this verbatim and I'll go through it really fast. So qualified members under a conflict. We're swearing in at number 11 on the script. Qualified members under conflict of interest and pre-hearing bias rules. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you have any of these, you may not be able to vote on the matter. So does any member of the board have a fixed opinion prior to this hearing that is not susceptible to change?
No.
No.
Okay. Has any member of the board had any communications about this matter before tonight's hearing?
No.
Yes, I emailed Katie just to clarify today that it was about Greenway and sidewalk, and a second email to ask if we voted on those items separately.
Yeah, and we're actually putting that email as part of the record, so we're good. Does any member of the board have close familial, business, or other associational relationship with a person affected by this application?
No.
No.
Okay. Does any member of the board have financial interest in the outcome of the matter?
No.
No.
Okay. Does the applicant wish to challenge any member of the board on the grounds supporting disqualification to sit for this hearing? Okay. All right, so I will go ahead and skip to number 4 because there's more than 4 members.
After I open the quasi-judicial hearing, it will proceed as follows. All parties who intend to give testimony or present evidence of any sort, pro or con, must complete the oath form and be sworn in by the clerk to the board. A staff member will briefly explain the zoning ordinance provisions at issue in this hearing. The board may question the staff member and then an applicant, and will be given an opportunity to question the staff member. The applicant and the applicant's representative, if they have one, will present their case for why they believe they're entitled to receive a variance they have applied for. The burden of proof to establish each element of the requirements in state law and the town zoning ordinance is on the applicant. The board and town staff may question the applicant and each of the applicant's witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, anyone else who has standing in the case may present sworn testimony in support of the application. At the conclusion of all testimony in favor of the application, anyone with standing wishing to present sworn testimony in opposition to the application or to ask questions of the applicant may present their testimony or evidence. The applicant may present evidence or a closing argument in rebuttal to any testimony in opposition to the application or provide additional information based on the questions raised if they so choose. At the close of all evidence and argument, I will close the hearing.
Good job. Yep. So after all evidence, testimony, and argument has been presented, the board will review the matter, deliberate on the required findings of fact, and render a decision in the form of a motion to approve the variance with conditions, or deny the variance. This will be done without further comment from any party. The board may elect to defer the decision. All exhibits and physical evidence introduced at the hearing must remain with the town as part of the official record of the hearing. Do not introduce any photos, drawings, writing, or any physical evidence that you're not willing to part with. And the applicant has emailed me all their evidence, so we have that already. Please hand it, I'm just reading this verbatim, but please hand any exhibits or physical evidence to the clerk, who will mark it for inclusion in the record for this hearing. If the decision of the board is not appealed to Superior Court, you may ask the clerk to return your items. We will have all that items that he's presenting tonight digitally. So just gonna give you a heads up. The board is acting in a quasi judicial capacity for the purposes of this hearing and can only accept sworn testimony. While the board will not specifically exclude hearsay evidence, it is given little or no weight in the board's decision. Appeal of any decision made by the board on this application is to Superior Court in Union County. Any aggrieved party with standing will have 30 days from the date of the board's written decision in which to appeal. To receive a written copy of the decision, any party must file a written request with the clerk to the board or the chair no later than 5 p.m. tomorrow. And that is me, the clerk. Go ahead.
Okay, we are now ready to open the hearing. Does anyone have any questions before we begin? If not, will all those who plan to give testimony this evening please come forward and be sworn in? One more, the administration votes and retained signed oath forms, then open the public hearing.
Please raise your right swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this board of adjustment will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
We can all read this together. I, Max Shaw, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, all right, so I am good to present the case. So, thank you for reading the script. We just do this usually once a year, so we have to read everything verbatim for record keeping. Okay. So this is V 250801, and the case is variance East Coast Truck Repair. That's what I named it. The applicant requests a variance at 924 Stallings Road, parcel ID 071293336, to request relief from Article 2.19-1 and 2.21.3 of the Stallings Development Ordinance. And we read those requirements earlier. But essentially, 2.19-1 sidewalks required. Whenever someone builds a structure over 1,000 square feet, it triggers the ordinance requirements. And one of those ordinance requirements is to build a sidewalk. So the applicant would be required to build the sidewalk if they were going to go through major site plan review for any structure over 1,000 square feet. And but they have come to me with plans of wanting to expand the property. And so that's why they're requesting the variance, because they want relief from these articles. And additionally, 21.3 states that they are also required to build a greenway that the town does have plans for a greenway on Stallings Road if they are to go through major site plan review, and that's for anything over 1,000 square feet. So those are the two ordinance requirements that they're requesting relief from, the greenway and the sidewalk. So the current conditions, as you can see, it's a major automobile repair business on Stallings Road and Gribble. It faces Stallings Road across from AEP Berry Plastics, and they currently have trucks on site. I think, I know I drove by the site recently, and they did currently have automobiles on site, those major truck repair type uses. And I apologize in advance, I just out of habit say I think, but I'm gonna correct myself because I can't say that as part of the quasi judicial meeting. So this is the entrance to the site. This is off of Stallings Road facing East Coast Truck Repair. They currently have a sidewalk located in front of the building on Stallings Road. This is a Google map view from Stallings Road and Gribble facing the business. As you can see, the sidewalk is on Stallings Road and continues along Stallings Road, but there is no sidewalk on Gribble. As you see in this picture, this is from Gribble Road facing the site. So, like I said, the property is currently a major automobile repair business because the zoning is industrial. That is allowed in an industrial zoning. This was approved as MRT Express in 2019 as part of our records. They have discussed, like I said, their interest in building a 1,000 square foot plus building. They say that it's for storage. A structure this size does trigger major site plan review, which would trigger the greenway and the sidewalk requirements. So the greenway master plan shows, I don't know if you can see this here, but this is Stallings Road, this dotted line called CS1 Central Spine. This is this star right here is where East Coast Truck Repair is located. They would be required to abide by this Greenway Master Plan, which shows the urban or suburban spine greenway along Stallings Road. There's also future atrium roadway improvements, and there's no timeline for these atrium improvements. The development agreement says that all of these improvements have to be done before phase 1 is completed. Phase 1's currently not completely completed because phase 1 mentions hospital, medical office, shopping center, fast food, apartments, hotel rooms. As you know, Atrium only has the hospital on site. But I did discuss this improvement with Atrium representative a week ago, and they said they are working on this improvements continually, but I don't have any updates for you on what they're doing to work on that. They just stated that in the meeting. But Atrium will provide a 6-foot sidewalk along Stallings Road and a 4-foot planting strip, and only as a replacement for existing sidewalks. So if the sidewalk's existing, that's what they're gonna put in there. And if there was a greenway located there, so if the applicant was to build a greenway as part of our current ordinance, the Atrium's plans would change and they would have to then replace the greenway. But they're also providing a turn lane on Gribble Road onto Stallings Road, left and right, and then there's turn lanes on Stallings Road onto Gribble Road. If you want more detail on exactly what Atrium's doing, I have the engineer here. So I'll let him come up and talk about it after my presentation, if that's okay. So action by the board. I just wanted to make sure you knew exactly what's in the ordinance and your authority of what the Board of Adjustments can and can't do. So after conducting the public hearing, which is what we're doing now, the Board of Adjustments may deny the request, conduct an additional public hearing on their request, but everybody would have to be present that's here today. They can grant the request with a 4/5 majority vote for each of the findings of fact. They can also approve with conditions, but they have to be appropriate conditions. So which mean that appropriate conditions which must be reasonably related to the condition or circumstance that results in the need of the variance may be attached to any variance approval granted by the Board of Adjustments, which means it has to be directly a condition based on what they're requesting alleviation from, so the greenway or the sidewalk. So, and they have to agree to it as well, to be approved. So standards of review, so I know you've received also the findings of fact. You will have to vote on each finding of fact. Each finding of fact has to pass for the variance to pass. And then at the end of the findings of fact, you'll also make a final vote to approve or deny the variance. If all findings of fact are approved, then you must approve the variance. If one does not pass, you must deny the variance, but you have to make that vote again. So, any questions?
Are the two requests bound together, or can they be considered by the board as two separate variances?
They can be considered separately as a condition.
Okay.
So you can say, I conditionally approve one or the other, or some combination with a request that that the board votes upon. Does that help?
Yes.
Answer your question? Okay. And before I get into each of the findings of fact, do you have any questions before I get into each one? You said you might have some questions for the
Probably
engineer.
have questions for Kevin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I assume so. Sorry, Kevin, I know. That's why he's here tonight. I'll let him come up and talk about the atrium improvements, and then we'll go through each of the findings of fact. And then after we go through the finding of fact, you can ask the applicant questions before then, excuse me. I forgot about the applicant, I apologize.
I have a question that I'm not sure if you or Kevin.
Yeah,
will be
go ahead and
the
ask it.
appropriate one. Basically, what we're looking at on the diagram right there with the atrium plans,
Mm-hmm.
did these atrium plans predate the greenway requirements that were adopted by the town?
So the Greenway requirement, so let me look at the,
Like basically, in what Atrium's
I
planning to
agree. I-
do, will it meet the greenway standards, or is it a
No,
different
no.
plan?
both were, so the Greenway was done first, because that plan was done in 2019, and then Atrium's development agreement wasn't approved until 2020. I can get that exact date with a little bit of research if you give me just 2 seconds. I can pull that up now, actually.
So is that to say that what Atrium has agreed to do at some point in the future is to either replace sidewalk or greenway, depending on what's there?
They're going to do, depending on what's there. Currently, there's no Greenway, so they don't have plans to replace with Greenway, but they have to replace what's there, and they're actually providing a wider sidewalk than what's currently there as part of their TIA, traffic improvement analysis. And the Atrium development agreement, this is not as part of the evidence because I'm not showing you the evidence, I'm just going to show you a date. The approved Atrium, gotta read it. So this agreement was actually done in 2022. This is for the road improvements. Okay, so this was, the Greenway was done first, before the Atrium development agreement. So hopefully that will answer some of your questions. And as part of the packet, I think I introduced a larger, this one, so that the engineer may be able to see the larger plan.
Max, I do have one other question. When I was reading through the materials on this, there was something I think I had read about when we vote, that financial hardship is one of the elements of what we consider or do not consider.
You cannot consider it as
Not
part of.
consider that.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
That's
thank
part of the findings of fact. So if you want, I can just go over the findings of facts real quick, so you know what they are before you ask questions to the applicant and Kevin, if you want. It's up,
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
and so everybody knows exactly what we'll be voting on. So I'll have to go over these again, and because we have to vote each one. So the first one, we'll have to vote for each of these individually and then do a final vote. So a necessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. Expense is not a valid hardship. These come directly from state statute. So, and the applicant will provide a response stating that their Gribble Road has no space for a sidewalk because there's going to be a 2-lane road added by the hospital. The hospital is going to, also taking property from us. to add a lane on Stallings Road, and they will do the greenway on Stallings Road. And I'll also have the applicant come up here and explain what their statement is. The second one is the hardship results from the conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography. The applicant's response is the location of the site does not have any sidewalk along the entire length of Gripple Road. The third one is the hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner, and the applicant agreed to it. The requested variance is consistent, this is the final one. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. And the applicant said, yes, removing the sidewalk will prevent people from walking along Gripple Road where there's no sidewalk. Just as part of each of these statements of justification, the applicant will also come up and talk about them. Does that help? Yes, thank you. That gives you a little bit better understanding of what you're actually going to be voting on individually. Any other questions before I have an?
Just to follow back, circle back to a question asked earlier, is what Atrium is planning, when you said they'll either replace sidewalk or greenway, and the response that you just read to us said that Atrium will build the greenway, but it sounds like that's not consistent with what the Atrium has agreed to do.
So Atrium will build what's currently there as part of the replacement for the road widening. Currently, there's only a sidewalk, so they're only going to replace it with a sidewalk.
So they're not going to build a greenway if there's not existing if there is not an
Not,
existing greenway.
not the ordinance's definition of a greenway.
Okay.
The ordinance definition of a greenway is a multi-use path. And 6-foot sidewalk is not consistent with that.
Okay.
Excuse me. Per their agreement, Atrium, do all of the conditions have to be met of office space, hospital, restaurant for that covenant to kick in?
Yes, so they are not obligated to complete the TIA improvements until those are in. And they have not yet applied for site plan review for those additional elements for phase one, only the hospital.
What is, I guess, like, all of those things have to be there? Like, is there a, I'm thinking I'm ahead of a progress meter of how is it decided when that threshold is met?
So the development agreement doesn't have a timeline, so there's no meter of when they would have to put those in.
Not when, but how we know that that has been met. Does that make sense?
When would it be true?
They would have to submit for major site plan review through staff and for those uses. But they would be allowed to apply for those uses administratively.
But it's not X or Y or Z, it's and all of those things?
Yes.
Okay.
But if they thought that could they do that earlier if they thought the roadway was such that it was dangerous for ambulances maybe?
The Atrium could do the traffic improvements at any time.
Early,
As
I
long
mean-
as it's done before the completion of what's in phase one.
Yeah,
And they have not yet completed what's in phase one.
yeah. But they could do it at any time. So like if tomorrow they decided, well, that's dangerous and we're gonna fix it,
That's
They
correct.
could.
They could, and they
Okay.
have stated in a meeting separate from discussion on this variance that they are working on this improvement
Okay.
internally. But that has nothing to do with this variance.
yeah. It would do if they did the sidewalk or if they did if they were actually working there and they were gonna do it and they did it, maybe, I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, they could do it at any time. I would say,
but I see what you're saying.
So right now, there's a sidewalk on Stallings Road.
correct.
So if things stayed exactly the way they are, Atrium would
Yeah.
replace the sidewalk and not anything else.
Correct. But they would install with what's on this traffic improvement analysis plan with the 6-foot sidewalk. And I haven't measured that sidewalk that's out there now, but it's not 6 feet. I do know that.
It's tiny.
Is the way that the development agreement is written with Atrium such that those improvements have to be made before the completion of all of the other elements? Okay.
Yes.
And have they left room in this agreement here to build the greenway if it was replacing one? Like, will there be enough width to accommodate that after the road widening?
I would say it would not be enough room. They would eat into Just looking at the plan, I don't know for a fact, I haven't studied that. Just looking at this plan here, it would eat into the property owner's land.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for Kevin. How far down Stallings Road does Atrium, have they committed to improving?
I'll have Kevin answer that.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question at the top of my head. Might have a lot of your questions answered if Kevin comes up here.
Okay.
I believe Gribble Road is the limits of the westernmost improvement. I think they're doing this same improvement at Smith Farm, and I believe, to the best of my knowledge, they're implementing the same improvement at Smith Farm Road. And to the best of my knowledge, everything surrounding 74 has already been installed, which makes sense because they own all the frontage there. So they're able to easily implement those transportation improvements within close proximity to their site. Yep.
So is, just trying to picture it in my head, is Smith Farm Road the eastern boundary of their property?
It is not. Smith Farm Road is in between Gribble and Matthews Indian Trail.
Okay,
Yeah, just, it's on the other side of the tracks.
gotcha.
Gribble's on the west side of the tracks. Smith Farm is the first road on the east side of the tracks. Yeah, Smith Farm is maybe 1,000 feet. Plan right here.
So Kevin, to follow up on Max's answer from a moment ago, if the applicant were to be held to the standard of having to build the greenway, when these road improvements are done, potentially they would have to remove the greenway and there may not be room to restore it as wide as it had been. So it could be potentially be just a temporary greenway and replaced with something lesser. Is that a potential possibility?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Yes. So if the applicant were to actually build the greenway as required by the current ordinance, if the variance were not approved, let's say these road improvements were done at a later date, would there be room to restore the greenway as wide as it had been, or would there be not enough room for Atrium to do that? Would they end up removing a greenway to replace with a sidewalk?
Yeah, good question. And
They would replace, if the applicant was to build the greenway as part
Yes.
of what's in our ordinance,
Yes.
Atrium would then have to amend their traffic improvements because there is now a greenway there.
So,
And
but
they'd
that could
have to replace it.
potentially have to take, there's a potential it'd have to take more property from the,
I don't believe they would have
Okay.
to take more because the applicant would be,
that is a potential, yes.
okay,
That is
sorry.
to the
That-
best of your.
that is-
The
that is-
applicant would
Yes.
already have built it, so then they
Yes.
would build what the applicant built.
Okay,
So I'll retract the think, they will replace what the applicant does build,
okay,
And they would have to amend their plans.
yes.
okay,
That is a potential, yes.
okay.
By what mechanism would Atrium, we've used the word take property. By what mechanism would they take property to expand onto the applicant's property?
They would go through right-of-way negotiation, which is exactly what it sounds like between the property owner and ultimately condemnation could be pursued. Now, I don't know the full legal details of condemnation, when and when it isn't, when triggered, but we are doing condemnation on behalf of Stinson Farms on Idlewild Road currently for transportation, off-site transportation improvements. So those are the only two mechanisms that I'm aware of.
We talking about sidewalk continuing on Drill?
The
bu-
greenway.
I believe we're talking about the Greenway on Stallings Road.
Yeah.
Yes.
But with the sidewalk that's there now, would that be, would Atrium extend the
No, sir. There is no existing sidewalk on Gribble Road now, so
Right.
they're not proposing any.
How about across the street from, across Gribble?
Nope. No, sir.
So as proposed now, if the applicant were to build Greenway, would that cut in past where that fence is that we see on the front of Stallings Road?
Let's see. I don't see where the fence is on, probably that line that says F right there. I don't know. I don't know the exact design parameters at this location. I know there's a lot of flexibility to put greenways at back of curb, so you're not impacting right-of-way limits. Things like that. There's a lot of ways that you can dodge things to make it work without hitting the fence. However, if we want to maintain, I don't know, I don't recall what that standard detail was, but if we want the typical planting strip and the greenway per our greenway plan, yes, it looks like that fence would be impacted.
I think this is a question for Max. You showed us the spine of, on the land use plan. Where does the town center small area end relative to this property?
Yeah, so let me show you this real quick. So that you can see the Stallings zoning. So the Stallings Town Center ends at Industrial Drive, right before Berry Plastics AEP. And then up the road past Tracy Circle, then is Gribble Road. And it's no longer in our town center plan. So they are not required to abide by town center zoning because they are industrial. And this is not in our town center plan, this property. It is only in our Greenway master plan. Not any other plan, other than like, comprehensive land use plan and zoning.
I know that we recently, across Gribble Road, recently had the property before us, right there. Does that property's current plan have a greenway along Stallings Road?
Yes. They got approval last week on Monday at council, and their plan calls for greenway along Gribble Road. Oh, excuse me, greenway along Stallings Road and no sidewalk on Gribble. That's what their plan states. And that's what they will be required to build as part of their conditional zoning approval. And they are abiding by the Greenway master plan.
Thank you.
And the applicant is here. They'll be able to present their case as well, if you want them to come up now.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. You state your name, please.
My name is Murat Tosoev, and I'm the owner of 924 Stallings Road. And it's been over a year I've been meeting with the engineers from the hospital. Let me start from Gribble, then I'll get to Stallings.
Excuse me, can you speak closer to the microphone?
Yeah, I'll start with the Gribble
Thank you.
Road, then I'll get to Stallings Road. The regular road's supposed to be 12 foot, that's the DOT measurement. And just because there was not enough space, the hospital had to get a special variance from DOT to make it 11. And that's shown there, because there's not enough space to make a 12-foot extra turn on the Gribble Road. So they did 11, and the road in my property is about 4.5 foot high from the actual road. There is actually work started. There is surveys been done. There's actually sticks on my property, how much they're gonna dig. and they're gonna put a pipe, because currently there's a ditch, and that's gonna be covered with the road. For the water to run, they're gonna do a underground, pipes. And
This is Gribble.
this is Gribble, yes, I wanna address Gribble first, then I wanna get to Stallings. First, they said they were gonna take part of my property on Gribble Road as well, and then I said I can't maneuver these trucks. Then it took almost a year, with DOT was the one that had to allow them to do 11-foot opening, to do a right turn from Gribble to Stallings. And it's not that we don't want to do it, there's physically not a space to put a sidewalk there. And when we get to Stallings Road, this is from engineers from hospital. The reason it's 6 foot is because, again, there's not a space there as well. We had right-of-ways with Duke Energy. They had to move their poles to my fence, about this much off my fence. That's where there's gonna be actually a light pole within my property that's behind the fence inside of my property, because they taking and making a turn wider to a Stallings Road. There's not a space there to put a light, so they're gonna put one within my property. And why I need more storage space? Because they're gonna take front of my property real close. Plus, we have parts that we don't want just to laying outside, we wanna store it. That's why we need a storage space on the Gribble Road side. Again, there's gonna be two, underground runoff for the water, because I don't know if you know, right now there's a water problem on the corner of Stallings and Gribble. There's gonna be a big runoff right next to my fence for the water to go in and get through the pipe and run down through the Gribble Road. They're also gonna take some portion of my driveway, and based on the engineers, they said they maxed it out, the sidewalk, the driveway, to make this work. And I believe that's it. If you guys have any questions.
I do, as a business owner, when you say they're going to take it from you, what is your ability to say, no, I don't want to do that?
Well, that's what I said first. Then they said, then we're gonna take this to a city, city's gonna take it to a state, then you're gonna have to. In other words, they said, nicely just agree at what we're offering, money-wise. I would rather not take any money and have my space, because it's already a smaller property with tractor trailers turning around. But I kind of didn't have a choice. It's either we negotiate it now, or it goes to the city, because they said the city requires them, they don't want to do this much work. City requires them to do all these improvements, lights, sidewalks, this turn, and I just had to agree. I didn't have a choice to say, no, I don't, I wouldn't touch anything. It took me 3 years to permit what I permitted already. There's also, that there's so many trees, bushes that I spent a lot of money on that's gonna be gone, because there's gonna be pipes there, which it is what it is. I just told them, make sure my fence don't fall, because their road is gonna come real close to my fence. They said, this is engineered, it's not like somebody's gonna come and do it. It's been, calculated. I'm like, okay. So, but like I said, I met with multiple engineers, multiple times, just making sure like everything will be, will work. And like I said, that pipe is gonna run all the way down where there's a pond at the end of my property that comes out to Gribble, and that's where they're gonna meet the pipe, and there's gonna be a ditch after my property. So.
Is it possible, Max, for us to see the property on Google Maps while we're talking about it, just from over here?
Yeah, I have it up.
Do you want a road, street view, or is
No,
the aerial?
this one, like, where is that pond you're talking
Do you mind
about?
pointing?
Can I, how do I zoom in?
You can just, yeah, you can do that.
This is whole pond,
Okay.
and there's gonna be, over here, there's gonna be like a runoff that's gonna connect and run along this way. Cause, I mean, as you see, we measured it. We literally, before coming in here, we measured it. It's roughly 17 foot, maybe 16 and some change. 11 foot of it is gonna be the road, and they have to leave some kind of dirt for the fence to stay and not wash off, unless they're gonna build some kind of, you know, a wall, retaining wall. And I know they're not gonna do that on the street, so they're gonna have to. There's literally, like I said, sticks there right now that, when they were trying to agree with me, they were so pushing me that they were gonna, I thought they should have been done by now, the way they were pushing me to sign all the paperwork, you know, with the right-of-ways and stuff. Max said that there's not a date, but like they were so pushing me that I had to sign, so, you know, the work should start. And as you see here, this is pretty close already, and there's gonna be one more lane here that's gonna go this way and turn. Basically, all this is, as you see here, this pole already here, this pole is gonna go. So, I just don't know how to fit a 10-foot greenway here. And like he said, this was approved after the greenway was adopted, so I'm sure they would have had that approved if there was a space, because there's gonna be a extra wide turn here, and they're gonna cut portion of this driveway, because this road has to be wide for the car to enter, you know, to get to the Stallings Road. So this is how long it's gonna be. And like I said, there's gonna be a light pole right somewhere here that's within my property, because there's not a space outside to put one. And I had to sign that with Duke Energy right away.
Max, may I ask a question? And could you blow that back up a little bit higher again? I want to see what's on the other side.
Where would you like the
Right
map to
there.
go?
Is there any reason why they wouldn't, because of all these complications for that business, why they wouldn't do that lane on the other side of the street?
So,
Are you talking about this neighbor?
Right, instead of that lane on the right side, shift the
That's
whole lane to
exactly
the other
what they
side.
did. If you look at the planning, that's what also the engineer of hospital did. They are gonna take portion of this property, they're gonna kind of move it because there's a lot of tractor trailers that drive through this
So they're already
road.
doing that?
Yes, because there's not enough space on here.
Okay.
And they are taking from here, and it is also, these poles are moved within side.
Okay, okay.
So what we're seeing on the right side of Gribble Road, where that turn lane is gonna be, so that's gonna go down Stallings Road. As you understand it, and Stallings Road is going to be wider.
Yes.
If you had to build a greenway, would your fence along Stallings Road have to move?
It's, at this point, you're gonna have to move this pole too. Because it's sitting maybe this much away from my fence. I don't know about over here, maybe, but over here, you have to move this Duke Energy that they just moved, like this one, they moved it here, because they're gonna have a road here. So over here, probably they're gonna have to take this corner from my property, but over here, to make this wider, this pole has to go, and I don't know where it will go.
You said you had to kind of negotiate. Have you been compensated for the loss of your property space?
Yes, about 3-4 times less than what I needed and wanted it.
yeah, you can't really consider financial hardship. That's part of your decision, you can ask.
Right, yeah.
And again, this is not because we want to be special or it's going to cost a little extra. There's just not like you said, sir, if we put it, they're going to come in and break it, and it's just not going to be there no more. There's not, and it's not me that is saying it. The surveys, the plans do show that there's not a space. Like I said, there's gonna be two runoffs, one here and one here, and there's gonna be underground big pipes that will, the runoff is gonna go. It's,
Where will the new storage building be?
I want to put it right here. Because I cannot build on this side. There's a 100-foot right-of-way from the railroad. So the only place I have is here. And as you see all this, this will be in the storage. We still are gonna have to go through planning and everything else. It's just that there's just physically, maybe there's possible right now, put us, on Stallings, but it's gonna be taken down. There's not gonna be, and they might start tomorrow, because I see some kind of work every day. There's surveys, there's, well, there's some work being done almost every day on Stallings Road.
How long has your business been open?
This, I've been in Stallings actually a long time. I finished building this in 2020, and he is renting it, so we, work kind of together. Where I am currently is here, just down the Industrial Drive. This is MRT Express. We provide some, parking, and we run through whole United States. We have refrigerated drive-in trailers, and we've been here since 2014. So I've been in Stallings a long time. I had to permit everything with Stallings. I worked with Lynn, permitting this, took me some time through COVID times, because I finished November 2020, I believe, is when I had my final approval to occupy and start my business. So, but yeah, it's been, this property been almost 5 years.
That red building on the back is not part of yours?
No, no.
Any other questions?
No.
For me?
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
I did want to state, just remember, you can make your decision based on the facts that were presented. So,
I have a question for you.
you have to state that in public meeting if you're asking me now.
Procedure.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
I
you
have a
still-
question, Mike. Do I get to vote?
As
chair?
No, I don't.
No?
believe you-
Okay.
yeah. Because there is there's a.
Okay.
No, there was, hold on one second.
For Board of Adjustments.
I just thought it was different, the Board of
Board of
Adjustment.
Adjustments.
Yeah, actually, we need 5 members here present and voting, so you are required to vote. I apologize, I'm thinking planning board.
Right, right.
We just don't have very many quasi-judicial
I
meetings,
thought it was different.
so it is different. I apologize for that misunderstanding. I was thinking planning board. So, I just wanted to state that once you move forward, we're not presenting anymore. You can still ask us questions, we cannot present our case anymore. Does that make sense? Yes. So if you would like to, you can move forward to reading number 12.
Okay, we have now concluded the portion of the hearing where the applicant and others present evidence to the board. The board will now proceed to a discussion and decision portion of the process. No one is permitted to address the board during this portion of tonight's meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board's discussion and vote. We will now review each required finding and vote on whether the finding has been approved by the competent material and substantial evidence. Do we have any questions for each other?
Well, just for the purpose of discussion and reviewing what we heard, it does sound like this has been quite a process.
Right.
On that property, and that it seems far from done relative to having to go through planning process via the hospital and an unknown timeline on that with Duke Energy. So I think there are a lot of things there. And looking at that, understanding what the new road is going to be of Gribble turning onto Stallings, and then thinking about the driveway closer to the hospital, I don't know that there's a lot of greenway that
I agree.
would be built.
I agree.
Yep, I agree.
However, the greenway on the opposite side of Gribble is required. Then there'll be a block past this business without a greenway, and then another greenway starts after that business. It's a real patchwork worth of greenway, and we're looking at the future of Stallings and Stallings Road. We need to be a little more consistent.
But the atrium agreement, if that happens before any greenway's built, they're not gonna,
That's right.
there's not gonna be greenway there.
That's correct.
So it may
Just
be
an
more
atrium thing.
consistent to let that just be one continuous flow of sidewalk. And it doesn't sound like the applicant's like unwilling, it's that there's physically not the space to do what the ordinance may require.
It could be a abbreviated greenway. I'm just concerned about the patchwork that's going to be there forever.
I agree with that. And driving down the road, you're looking toward where we're sitting right now, coming from the hospital. However, I think this is a question for Max. Are we allowed to consider what the future land use plan is, or are we strictly adhering to the question in bold on the statement in bold on the screen?
You can consider future land use as part of your decision, because that would be something that have adopted. It would be a fact-based decision. But just want to remind you, you will have to state the hardship, and everybody will have to vote. You'll have to have a reason. So,
But I guess the question would be, is the atrium plan done? Is it a moot point?
the atrium traffic impact analysis, currently, yes. But the atrium improvements on their site for the hospital itself are not complete. But the traffic impact analysis is complete, and they will be working on that in the future.
But the atrium plan is, they're bound to that. We just don't have a timeline, but it's going to happen at some point in the future.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a
Okay,
done deal.
yes,
That's all I'm
yes, so
saying.
that, yeah. Okay, so following up on what Mike was saying with as much as we would like to see the greenway, it just sounds like there is a hardship based on the nature of the business with having to move large pieces of equipment, large vehicles around, that if they had to move that fence, not by any cause of their own, but if they had to move that fence and lose some more property, it limits the amount of movement they can have with the equipment they must
The area
move
they have.
around in order to conduct the business that they conduct. So I see that as a hardship,
which is
supported by the evidence that was presented.
Yes.
And I agree with what Mr. Chair said about having the greenway. I would love to see it all the way down to the hospital.
Sure.
However, that is something that would, like this only came up because of a potential change in the structure of the buildings on the property.
Correct.
So like every other building down toward the hospital, then we'd have to have, or every other property would have to have some type of material change in order to put greenway in that spot. So like, I think, if we were to say, now that we know, because that property on the other side of Gribble Road will have greenway, if everything from there to Old Monroe Road became greenway,
Sure.
I think that's reasonable. But I agree with John that given the nature of the business, that this adds a lot of additional burden for perhaps not an equal amount of payoff.
A motion that the first required finding is satisfied.
Well, I'm just not,
You have anything to say?
yeah. Um, never mind. Skip that one.
Sure.
Sure.
I just worry that the Greenway plan was done
Prior.
prior, and I just feel like you kind of need to be consistent. Or more people are gonna say, I don't want the greenway either. He doesn't have it. Why should I have to go through this hardship? So everybody's gonna be wanting no hardship, and you're not gonna have anything but a 6-foot wide sidewalk, if you're lucky.
I think kind of what we heard tonight,
but-
though, is that if they do build the greenway,
Right.
then when they do the road improvements, there won't be room for that same greenway
Right.
anymore. So what?
Can't takes it out.
That it's not gonna be a physical possibility to have the greenway there after the road improvements are made, so.
I'm thinking that would have to be something Atrium would have to work out with the
I don't
landowner.
see any buildings that would have to be moved. They had to move the fence back a little bit.
I mean, the worst,
Reduces what he can park there, though.
There's nothing there to park. It's all like storage right now.
Yeah, so that's the fence line right there. So if they move that,
That's
no, there's the fence
There's the
there.
fence, right.
So if you move that fence in, you lose all this storage
Mhm.
area.
But he's gonna build the storage here.
Yeah.
because basically you're not losing any truck storage space.
No.
Because trucks couldn't drive back behind there anyway, so. That's my point. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be up to
nothing where-
Atrium.
Nothing that's being parked there now is gonna have, is there, you know, nothing. I just keep thinking of Old Monroe Road and everybody losing property and houses having to be torn down and all that kind of stuff for a road improvement, you know? But
And-
more than that, we're looking at the future of Stallings,
Yeah.
and we're trying to coordinate everything and pull it all
And have a
together.
cohesive
Yeah, you're gonna have the town
look.
center down below. It's gonna be really nice and all greenways and all that stuff, and the park is there, and you further down, and then it just falls apart. Then it's improved again because the hospital is there and everything. Great. That one block is not gonna have
But
anything.
Gribble is strictly commercial, correct, at this point? There's no residential, there's no park,
It's like industrial commercial.
Yeah.
all industrial, commercial, right?
You have people coming in from, on Stallings Road going through the town, and they're gonna see the greenway, and it's gonna look very
Patchwork,
nice.
if you don't, yeah, it'd be patchwork if you didn't have it consistent, is the problem. So why did we even attempt to have any walkable, or a, a way to move people with, bicycles and walking, baby carriages? And Stallings Road is a very busy road, and I see people going up and down that little 4-foot wide sidewalk every day. I see people walking. And I'm like, it's dangerous because you're so close to the road as it is, but it's tiny. It's a tiny sidewalk.
Here we have a corporation, Atrium, willing to put all those improvements in on Stallings Road for us. Should have something to say about that. Make a beautification.
I'm surprised that in their road improvement, when that was approved, it wasn't required to make that all greenway. Since that was done after
was
the
done
greenway
after the
plan
fact,
was
Yeah.
put in place.
Yeah.
Max, could I ask a procedural question? Yes. Could we have some coaching on what would be the proper procedure if we were to kind of separate the Gribble Road part of the request from the Stallings Road? If we wanted to kind of consider those as separate?
So each of the findings of fact would have to be an approval. And at the final vote, you would then vote for the variance.
So we can't separate the
And-
facts into two separate.
But then at the final at the final request, you would separate at the end, and the applicant would have to agree to it. And if it doesn't agree to it, then it fails.
Yeah, I don't think we need a sidewalk on Gribble because there's not.
So,
there.
but each of these need a motion and a vote.
What's what I'm saying, like, what if we wanted to say that one, the Gribble Road one, but what if the finding of facts did not support the other request, that we have to find all 4 findings of fact have been satisfied before we can do the split. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you have to vote for this one first, and we'll have to do them in order. So, my recommendation is to make a motion and vote on this one and then move on to the next one. And then at the end, make your recommendation for what you want the final, condition to be.
I guess, and I may have asked this question already, if the greenway were to be built on Stallings Road, does that plan overlap with where the fence is currently?
The fence would eat it, the greenway would eat into the fence, and the fence would have to be removed or relocated.
At whose expense?
So initially, if they built their building and they build the greenway, it would be at the applicant's expense. Then, when the atrium does the road improvements on Gribble and Stallings, they would have to replace what the applicant put in at their expense. So it would be at both atrium and the applicant's expense.
At 2 separate times?
Yes. And the expense is not a hardship, so you can't use that as part of your vote. Sorry.
Any more questions? Any more discussion?
I have a hard time knowing, how to proceed on this, understanding that we don't have any idea when the hospital plans to do any of these things. And understanding the way that businesses operate are not always benevolent toward the public good. And that these are things that are for the public good and not for the private good. So, it doesn't appear as though this is imminent either, from the hospital's perspective.
Correct.
That's my skeptical side speaking, but I'd like to think there's a dose of realism in there too.
But what's not there when the hospital does do their job, they're not gonna put in. There's only a sidewalk there, they're gonna replace the sidewalk. If it's the sidewalk in the greenway,
Right.
they'll replace both.
Right.
And it doesn't affect Gribble at all, except on the corner.
Right. I think we've talked a lot about how it impacts the future of the town. Have we revisited the question of would an unnecessary hardship result for the business owners if this were to be applied? Do we believe that?
I think at least on the Gribble Road side, when they put when widening there won't be, and based on the topography of the land, there would not be it would be a hardship to try to force a sidewalk onto the Gribble Road side. I think from that alone, we probably have satisfied the first finding of fact.
Yes.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the first finding of fact that there's an unnecessary hardship that would result from the strict application of the regulation based on the evidence of the road widening plans that we've reviewed. Yes.
Second.
A vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe that would be a hardship. Or,
You have to vote too.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's move down to this one. The hardship will result from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography.
We're talking about Gribble Road now.
Gribble and Stallings. So the entire request is you're considering.
Yeah, I'd say based on all the moving parts that are not within the control of the applicant, I think this one is easily satisfied. I'd make a motion that the second required finding that hardship results from the conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography, has been satisfied by the evidence that we've seen.
Second.
All in favor?
No, I
Yes.
said no.
Okay.
But it passes.
No, I said aye.
Okay.
Okay, but it passes because of 4/5 majority. Okay. All right, so the third finding of fact, the hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner.
I move that the hardship did not result in the actions taken by the applicant or property owner.
I'll second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 All in favor? Okay. And the fourth one, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
Moving of the sidewalk would prevent people from walking along Gribble sidewalk. There is no.
Is there a definition of substantial justice?
I would have to look through the state statutes, but probably not.
Jeez.
You're not removing a sidewalk from Gribble.
Requested.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
Right.
I think they're saying the request to be absolved of having to build one.
Right.
That it would not create a public.
Is that what they're talking about?
Yes.
Is that?
But with the response,
Yeah.
Is what you're saying removing, saying being exempt from having to build it?
Yeah, there's none,
So they wouldn't, but they're not building it.
Right.
there's not a place to build it.
But you're not building that sidewalk. You're not being asked to build it.
Actually, they are.
so they would be required to build it if they built a structure over 1,000 square feet on their property,
Yeah,
which they have stated that they would like to do so.
yeah.
But we previously granted exemptions to other businesses.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, I just wanted
Right.
that clarified. So we have the motion?
I'll move that we find that the fourth required finding, that the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulations such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved, was supported by the evidence that was presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so all ayes. And then you have to make a final vote for the entire variance. Now that each one has passed, you are required to vote in approval of the variance, but now if you would like to request a condition of the applicant, you can do so.
Are there strong feelings that the Gribble Road and the Stallings Road should be treated like a condition of one or the other? Or should we treat it all as one
I
request?
think it should be separate.
I think it should be separate.
Do we need to make a motion that we have a condition? We need some coaching on the best way to.
You can make a motion, but before you approve it, the applicant would have to agree to it. Because if you can't make them do something they
They'd
did.
have to agree
don't want
that
to do.
it's treated separately or the actual condition
So
that we
I think
propose.
I believe that you want to make the motion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that they are required to put in the greenway and not the sidewalk on Gribble Road, but the greenway on Stallings?
Can we continue to deliberate?
Yes, go
How
ahead.
we would do the
Continue,
condition?
continue to deliberate on the condition,
Okay,
but just know they have to agree to it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I stated my case.
Yeah,
I don't believe that
I,
they can move the
yeah,
fence.
as much as I'd like to, I don't.
They're not
yeah,
putting the storage on Stallings Road. They're putting it on Gibble.
Yeah,
They're getting they're saving that land. I think that the fence should be moved and they should have a greenway there.
I do too.
On Stallings.
Yeah, on Stallings
I
Road.
like that.
I
I'm
think
separating the
greenway
two,
should be
Gibble
built.
Road, Gribble Road and Stallings Road. I think Stallings Road is much more important to the town.
so how could we, the condition that we would approve the variance on the Gribble with the condition that the greenway requirement remain in place? Would that be a proper way of,
Well, there is a
Wording it.
sidewalk there already, so
well, the greenway requiring.
Improvements.
they need to install the
They
greenway.
need to agree to, they need to agree to that. Greenway stay in place for Stallings, but not for Gribble.
Right.
The Gribble sidewalk would
I'm
not.
fine with Gribble. That's the way it is. Yeah, I agree 100%.
We would need to make a motion and then get the input from the applicant.
Okay?
Why don't you ask the applicant first before you make the motion, actually?
Applicant, please come forward. you heard what we were talking about?
Yes,
I'd like to
can I?
separate the Stallings
So we-
requirements and
And
Gribble.
are we allowed to review evidence? We just can't present new evidence at this point?
Correct.
Okay,
But you can discuss it.
okay. We can discuss openly okay.
We'd like to, we're talking about requiring that the greenway be put in on Stallings and not on Gribble. We agreed to not require you to put in a sidewalk on Gribble, to leave Gribble exactly alone. Our
I
position.
guess what potential impact on your business would having to comply with the greenway requirement have?
Well, if I'll have to, if I won't be able to get the variance, I'm not gonna build the storage, which is gonna hurt my business, but I am not gonna, this just, for me, build something that's gonna be torn down in a month, in 2, in 5, I don't know. And there's a reason why it's 6 foot and not 10 foot. Currently, it's either 3 foot or 4 foot, I believe. It's very tiny. And it's gonna be doubled. There is a reason why it's not 10, because there's not a space. Like I said, if I won't be able to get the variance, I am not going to build anything, which is gonna hurt my business, but I'm gonna leave it alone. If the if the hospital comes to me with a 10 foot, I am gonna say no as much as I can. If I have to hire a lawyer and not allow fence to be moved, they can move the road, because they're gonna have to move the pole. Like I said, there's a pole, has to be
Where are you
moved.
going to put these, planning to put that storage building? That's on Gribble.
There's nothing, well, it's
Oh,
gonna,
yeah.
Yeah,
there's a,
we're leaving that alone completely.
I understand, but there's still parts that are there that I can't, there's just so many trucks that I can't, and I had to leave so much space for a pond. There's a right-of-way on the other side of the railroad. I can't do nothing there. There's a 40-foot from Stallings right-of-way. Like, this property is so, it's just,
Yeah, I
it's
understand that.
squished, like, it's just, and about talking about the patches that you guys were talking about, they will be on Stallings Road. And they can last 10 years, maybe longer. There's a current property not far from here, like a little salon. They just redeveloped it, put a new asphalt. They were not required to put a greenway. They don't have it. I'm not trying to be special. There's just physically not a place because of a distance between the Gribble and the railroad. There's gonna be extra lane on coming towards my property, a turning lane, and a 6-foot sidewalk, which is she said there, it's very close. It's gonna be very close to the road, and I don't believe there's a way of putting a 10-foot, unless they torn down pretty good size of my the fence, which I am not gonna.
So we're
I don't
talking about
wanna
just
do
the front, just the
We're-
Stallings
we're-
Road fence, correct?
Yes, and as
That's not affecting your,
it is affecting the storage, because it's not just the tires that I want to put or the car or truck I want to put in the storage. There's also extra parts, a door, a wheel, and an engine that's sitting behind the fence that's covered. There's a reason why it's wood fence, not a chain link metal fence, because the city didn't want to see what's inside. I have parts there that that's why this process whole took so long, because they wanted to take from both sides, and I at that point, I wouldn't be able to operate.
correct.
It's just no way.
Right.
Now, if the front come close, I won't have storage, then I'll have to ask for a second storage, and then I don't have enough parking. At that point, I would just leave it alone, no storage, which again, it will hurt my business, but I would just leave it alone, and everything's approved with the hospital already. So if they would wanna do anything else, they're gonna have to ask for different variants, not variants, but permission from us. And like I said, I will not be agreeing, and it's not like a threat or anything, it's just that I wouldn't wanna do it as much as I
I
can.
believe when you first approved your business there, we required a wooden fence, so
Yes, so I was literally told, we don't want to see what you're doing inside. This is literally what I was told. Because when I was approving this, the side setback was 80 foot from Stallings. So I had this meeting already to try to, I asked, can it be 40? And it was approved. It was, it went back to 40 because the plans were said 80 foot away from the road. And that's insane, that would be a building in the middle of the property, which, again, it's 40 is still too much. Right now it's 25, but it is what it is. I would really would appreciate if this would be approved so I can have storage there. It's just not possible without moving fence and there's also, like I said, a drain thing that's getting installed right next to that. We'll have to move. That's to the hospital. And I believe hospital should have complied with the Greenway if they could have. It's not that they chosen. And to the question where if I build it and then they're gonna come back and just because it's there, they're gonna rebuild it? No, if I don't put it, if this doesn't pass, I am not gonna build it. They're gonna come back and not build it anyway. So nothing is changing, because I will not be putting a Greenway.
How much room currently is between the fence and that first building on Stallings?
From the fence,
To the first building?
from the road is 40. I do not want to tell you something wrong. I don't know from the
No,
fence
no,
to
I mean,
the,
the fence, once you're at the fence line, that faces Stallings,
Your current building.
to your current first building. that
again, I
faces it.
do not know. I know it's 40 foot from the side of the road, because that's how they measure. And this was, they put the engineers put the sticks where to put the building. I didn't. So I didn't measure fence to the but it's not a lot. There's also a sidewalk, a mini sidewalk that was required by the county along to within inside of my property. So there's a sidewalk inside of the fence.
Oh, inside the fence.
Yes, and it has to be level because, disabled person to be able to get in. There's a parking, a big parking,
Fence close to the building, you're probably
5
interfering
parking
with,
spots for
egress.
cars. Like, I was required to do so. And there's a little metal thing for bikes that's close to the fence. Like, all that has to be moved and go somewhere, because I know it's not gonna be exempt. You don't need to require a bike, the metal thing that you put your bike on, that's what's sitting between the parking and the fence. So there's stuff. It's not that, like I said, it's not like I don't feel like it or it's gonna cost me. It's just, I'm not gonna do something that's gonna be removed and then it's gonna, cost me.
Max, can we ask another question? If he has to have a sidewalk for ADA compliance, how does that come into play with moving that fence back? He's got a sidewalk for ADA access compliance to that building.
Be a new
That's-
sidewalk we would have to build, so that would
Access the
be.
building.
But I'm saying,
Wouldn't have to work
but
past
what
that.
we're saying is,
Wheelchair access.
would having him moving that fence back
would go.
eliminate that sidewalk?
Then there was no way to
We would
enter.
have to determine that during site plan review. I can't answer that. I don't know at the top of my head.
If that's removed, there is no way of entering there's not a small door from the
So
back
whatever-
sides.
Whatever sidewalk's currently there would be replaced with the greenway.
No.
There's a
he's-
sidewalk on both sides of the fence, he's saying,
Yes.
there's the sidewalk to access the rear of the building.
Yeah, when you come
Inside
in.
the fence.
Yeah, it would then be just reconfigured through site plan review. I'm not the engineer, excuse me.
How much larger is this new structure relative to the size that requires this whole process that we're going through right now?
So they currently have not submitted anything for the new structure. But
What
you
is the
can-
trigger?
1,000 square feet. But you can ask him what he wants to build, but you can't hold him to that.
Yeah.
And make that part of your decision.
It's gonna be bigger than that. If it's 1,000, we're not gonna build anything.
So if he did 999 square feet, he could keep the site as it.
You wouldn't have to ask permission for anything.
He would have to do site plan review,
But-
minor,
Yeah,
but not major.
okay, right.
But you're saying you would not build a building smaller than 1,000 square feet?
There's no reason for it, because it's semis. There's no reason,
Semis,
because
okay.
there's gonna be so much involved. for 1,000, you know?
But like I said, we're not discussing, I'm not doing the site planning for this work, so I
Right.
don't know what can or can't be built, like for the sidewalk behind the fence. We just don't know at this point, because haven't had an engineering review the site plan.
So we're not talking about different worlds,
We just don't know.
staying the same.
So to go back to what we had to do was we have to ask the applicant.
It sounds like he's answered that question, that if we didn't approve everything,
Right.
they're not gonna proceed with anything, so.
Right.
that-
So you can approve the variances with the conditions still? Maybe just not. It would fail though, because he didn't agree to it.
Right,
Does that
okay,
make sense?
I got you, yeah.
So,
So what would the end
Who
result?
fails it?
so what the findings would say is that the Board of Adjustments approved the variance with the conditions, and then the applicant did not agree to it, thus the variance fails and did not pass.
And then what would be the result of that?
That's the final result.
But what would have to happen with that with the sidewalk or the greenway?
It's not gonna
The whole
change.
variance fails.
It's not gonna
Well,
change.
it's-
And the greenway still doesn't get built.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if, what's holding us up is that the greenway doesn't get built, if it fails, the greenway still doesn't get built.
And if Atrium widens it, there's a 6-foot wide.
And
And
they're not
they're
gonna
going
build the
to.
greenway, they're just gonna replace the sidewalk.
So
With 6 foot.
it's a difficult decision.
Instead of,
It's gonna be double. It's either 3 or 4 right now. It's very tiny right now.
I can't.
If
vote
he
on it,
builds
so I
a-
can't have an opinion about the.
So even if he builds a greenway, Atrium comes in.
They're gonna break it because they have to build a road.
They would break it. They would likely, I don't know for sure, and I hate stating something. They would have to replace what they would though have to replace what they do tear up.
So they're-
Yeah, but if there's no
But it would be
space,
in a different location.
exactly, in my property.
Because they would all have to do
His
site
property.
engineering work. This has not been done yet.
But based on the road being expanded, it literally couldn't be in the same place as it would be built.
Yes.
so they would have to negotiate with him.
I just can't
They don't have
guarantee
to.
that.
It's already approved and I signed what they asked me and that was approved by the town. So they gonna build a 6 and leave it there. That's what's gonna, because there's no, for me to build the greenway right now, even temporarily, I have to cover the ditch. Because even right now, there's not enough space. There's a pole here and there's a pole here. Because the old pole, that Duke Energy, that moved, the old one's still sitting there. So I have to call Duke, tell them, listen, this has to go because it's required by you guys to, then I have to build a ditch up to make a wide, because it's either 3 or 4 foot right now. So in order for me to do, it's a major work. It's not just adding extra concrete, making it wide and long. No, I have to fix the ditch and, move the pole to make that happen. I'm just not gonna do that.
So what I'm hearing here is that this is just not, while it's pleasant to think about, it doesn't sound sensible.
I agree.
Because we're not allowed to consider financial hardship, but from a nuisance perspective, I would not want to have to call Duke Energy and ask them to move a pole.
No, and see something
don't
that
have
was
to.
built be torn up is also, even though it's not, it's
Doesn't make sense.
financially wasteful, but we can't consider that, but it would just be more potential disruption to the business as well. Double, you
Right.
know,
It's time wasted.
yeah. So, sounds like there's no point in proposing a, condition, because if it's not gonna help them, and also it almost sounds like that the greenway just isn't realistic at this stage, but,
Oh. Forever.
and if it fails, the greenway still doesn't get built.
Right.
It just stays as is until whatever the atrium decides
Atrium
to do,
does. Oh,
Let Jim
Yeah.
do it.
which is gonna get done one way or the other, so.
so do we put
Patriots
So I'm just
decides to
thinking
put
of-
it a greenway, they're gonna take his property.
Well, they won't
anyway.
decide, they'll only do
Yeah,
a
I know
greenway
they
if there's already a greenway. you
Right.
know, Which there may not even be room to do a greenway.
because they're
so,
gonna widen and take it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Because current sidewalk goes straight down, and their plan is come towards my property because the road is pushing them as closest to my property. So it has to be torn down. And then I don't know what they're gonna do afterwards.
So I think there's also the impact of, if this greenway is built by this applicant, that requires construction on a busy road through the town. If it has to be torn down, that's further construction.
Correct.
So that's hardship to people who are just driving on the road every day.
Well, there's gonna be hardship to people going up and down Monroe Road every day, so. I mean, they're
mean,
be
there's
right
gonna
in front
be
of
a
my neighborhood
6
every
foot.
day for, I know, years. I mean, that's just road construction. That's just the problem of, that's not necessarily, I don't
But
think that
again, we don't know when
should go
Atrium's
into-
moving on this either. It could be 3 years down the road.
Or never.
That shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think it's an issue.
There's gonna be a 6-foot sidewalk there though.
You know,
Oh, I don't feel we should put the condition on.
I don't think so, and realistically, I don't think the greenway's likely to actually ever be in front of that property, no matter what we decide, so. I don't know how tied I wanna be to that as an influencing factor, but.
well, I'm just thinking, if we don't take a chance and try to do something in Stallings, it will never be built. And this
Right.
is what we'll end up with the rest of the years for perpetuity. And
I understand that too.
you know, just, it's not gonna be a great place to live. Cause you got, you know, that's just my opinion, and I'm sorry.
It's just a lot of industrial properties and that's it's tight, small, and it's unfortunate they taking so much space to build that turn.
Here's our next.
Yeah.
Our only allowable.
Okay,
motion is-
can I have a motion to approve or deny the variance?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No.
If all of the findings are voted on, in the affirmative, only allowable motion is to approve the permit. If any findings receive a negative vote, the only allowable motion is to deny the permit on grounds that one or more required findings are not proven by competent material and substantial evidence. The board has also the option of approving a variance with conditions.
So I just wanted to let you know how this looks. I was doing a little bit of research on the ordinance, so since the applicant did not agree to the conditions, the variance request, you did vote upon the final, and therefore the request was denied. So, just want to let you know. Okay.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn.
Four-fifths.
So move.
Second?
Second?